Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Oh, it feels so nice on the patio right now, but temperatures will climb into the low to mid 80s, feeling like the average for early June. I'll show you how long this will last.
Senate spending plan. We are waiting to learn what lawmakers want to include in the state budget and why some believe it could take months to pass the $30 million piece of legislation. Also,
2, 1, ignition. Liftoff.
Historic space flight. For the first time in more than 60 years, an all-female crew journeyed into space, and we watched it live right here during WRAL's Morning News. If you missed it, stick around for that and a look at their safe return.
flopping right down there in the desert. There's a big shift in wind that is bringing us a big warm-up this afternoon. And good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thank you so much for joining us. Just take a look at this beautiful blue sky, courtesy of our WRAL live camera network. A look at our WRAL tower here in Raleigh. It almost looks like a painting. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL weather patio where temperatures are warming up, but not for long.
Just today is going to be interesting because our next weather maker comes tomorrow with a front that'll cool us right back down. So enjoy. A great time to be outside. This is a look at Fenton and Cary. You can see people wandering around. We have a ton of people that are here in the gardens because the azaleas are in full bloom right now. It's a very comfortable 73 degrees, a little bit of a breeze. We have a wind out of the southwest at 10 miles per hour right now. It's 72 in South Hill, 71 in Rocky Mount, 74 in Southern Pines and Fayetteville, 73 degrees in Clinton. A big difference from yesterday. Our temperatures are running anywhere from about 10 to almost 20 degrees warmer than this time yesterday. The weekend was nice. It was beautiful, but temperatures were running a little cool. We'll be well above normal for today. 85 in Durham, 83 in Benson, 85 in Fayetteville, 79 in Roanoke Rapids, but 83 up in Roxborough and 84 in Southern Pines. Our temperature normally in the Triangle for this date is 72. So this is well above normal. We'll talk about the front that comes in tomorrow and the wind that will come with it in just a few minutes.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, an internet outage is affecting several DMV offices across our state. If you go to the NCDMV's website, this is what you're going to see here. Internet outage is affecting DMV offices in Raleigh, Garner, Carrboro, Wendell, Goldsboro, and Mount Olive. The NCDIT is working with the internet provider to resolve the issue. We don't know the cause right now. We do know that Carly Haynes will have a live report with more information coming up at 12:30.
Michelle, thanks. Right now, we'll give you a live look at the state legislative building. This is where we expect to get our first look today at the changes state Senate leaders want to make in spending over the next 2 years. The Senate is expected to release its proposed budget this evening. WRAL Capitol Bureau Chief Laura Leslie is there with what we'll be watching for. Laura.
Renee, this is the first step in lawmakers' process of putting a spending plan together. We already know that Republican leaders here plan to spend significantly less than Democratic Governor Josh Stein had proposed. This year's state budget was $31.7 billion. We're expecting to see a proposal for about $32.6 billion for the next fiscal year, and that's less than $1 billion in growth. The big question is where in the budget that growth will happen. State employees, teachers, and retirees are all hoping for a raise. But lawmakers also need money for Hurricane Helene relief. And there's also the economic uncertainty at the national and global level and the possibility of a recession. Republican Senate Leader Philip Berger says they're not worried about that just yet.
Concerned is not the right word. I think we are watching all of those things. And thus far, there's nothing that I have seen that would lead me to think we need to change course in any specific way.
There's also a state income tax cut that's scheduled to take effect next tax year, lowering the income tax rate by 0.25%. Governor Josh Stein wants lawmakers to put that cut on hold for now to make sure the state has enough money next year. Berger has said he wants to go ahead with the tax cut, but House leaders are signaling they may not agree. This is just the beginning of what's likely to be a months-long process. The Senate will pass its budget this week, and they'll send it over to the House, and then it's the House's turn to come up with their own proposal. The two sides will eventually have to iron out their differences, and their deadline for that is June 30th. Laura Leslie, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
We now know the name of the victim in a deadly recreation center shooting. According to Fayetteville police, 22-year-old Jalen Thornton was shot and killed at the College Lakes Recreation Center. Police were called to the scene around 5 yesterday evening. They found Thornton dead at the scene. Police have not made any arrests in the shooting. They say the investigation is ongoing.
New this noon, a woman charged with an early morning shooting is due in court this afternoon. Ayamone Lopez is charged with assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill. The shooting happened on Dancy Drive near Lewisburg Road just after 12:30. Police had an SUV towed from that scene around 5 a.m. The person shot was taken to the hospital and is expected to recover. In Johnston County, Sky 5 flew over this fire response on Black Creek Road. Multiple crews, including from Four Oaks, Benson, and Elevation fire departments responded. It took them about an hour to put the flames out, marking it under control at about 6:40 this morning. We are working to learn if anyone was hurt in that fire.
The man President Donald Trump wants to become Washington, D.C.'s top prosecutor could be subject to a disciplinary investigation. The former January 6 prosecutors, as well as prominent conservative lawyers, sent a letter to the Attorney Disciplinary Board in Washington, D.C. The group wants the board to investigate Ed Martin, who is serving as U.S. Attorney for D.C. on an interim basis. They claim Martin has violated several professional rules and that his actions undermine the constitutional guarantee of equal protection of law. Sarah Palin's defamation lawsuit against the New York Times heads back to court today. The trial centers around an editorial the newspaper published in 2017. It erroneously linked a map that Palin's Political Action Committee had posted to a 2011 mass shooting that injured former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. The Times quickly issued a correction. In 2022, a jury ruled against the former GOP vice presidential candidate.
Today, State Supreme Court Justice Allison Riggs headlined a Protect Our Votes rally on Bicentennial Plaza. Justice Riggs and others spoke out about efforts by her challenger, Jefferson Griffin, to have votes from the November election thrown out. WRAL's Ken Smith is here with what Justice Riggs had to say there. Ken.
Jeff, her focus and her supporters were on the most recent state Supreme Court ruling in this case. Riggs and her supporters pushed back at the state Supreme Court's ruling that thousands of overseas ballots or voters should have their ballots thrown out. This would be about 5,000 voters, and many of those voters, according to Riggs and many of her supporters, are military personnel stationed overseas. Well, along with Justice Riggs, former service members spoke about having overseas votes challenged.
I remember what it's like to be deployed far from home. I remember what it's like to have to worry about the safety of the men and women around me and the success of the mission. What I don't remember is having to worry about a ballot that I cast being invalidated after I cast it.
I will not give up on my fight to protect those fighting for us.
Justice Riggs told the crowd her father and brother both served in the military. She says as soon as Friday's court ruling was issued, her legal team was already filing appeals with the federal court. Now, we've asked Judge Griffin for his thoughts on this morning's rally. We're awaiting his comments. As soon as we get a statement, count on WRAL and the NC Capitol team to share it with you online and, of course, in our news starting at 4.
Ken, thank you. It's a new trading week after last week's wild ride. The Dow Jones Industrial Average in the green, up a modest 95 points at this hour. S&P 500 also in the green, advancing 14 points. NASDAQ up 25 points. This after the tariff exemptions on electronic devices was announced. A mental health and substance abuse center is back open after undergoing an expansion. Southlight Healthcare's Raleigh Hub on Garner Road held a grand reopening yesterday. The facility has a newly expanded on-site pharmacy, added new counseling rooms, and medical offices. Raleigh Mayor Janet Cowell spent the afternoon touring the facility. The renovation cost $3.5 million through a capital campaign.
The star-studded all-female Blue Origin crew is back on the ground after a quick trip to space. The group touched down around 9. And we welcome you back this noon as you look live at the Legislative Building. Blue skies, some clouds working in, and the wind bringing some hot air, certainly for our afternoon. Going to hit 80 today. You're watching WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app with a TV or streaming device. A man charged with setting fire to the Pennsylvania governor's mansion admitted harboring hatred towards Josh Shapiro.
The governor, his family, guests, and their dogs escaped from the home early Sunday morning after police say a man broke into their home and started a fire. NBC's Shaquille Brewster explains the 38-year-old turned himself in just hours after the fire.
This morning, a 38-year-old man now in custody after an alleged arson at the home of Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. Police say Cody Bomber scaled a fence to break into the mansion, using a handmade device to start the fire as the governor and his family slept.
We have a structure fire at the governor's residence.
New photos showing the dramatic damage inside the residence. Shapiro, his wife, their children, and 2 dogs, along with some guests, all safely evacuated as firefighters doused the flames. The governor speaking out Sunday.
This type of violence is not okay. I don't give a damn if it's coming from one particular side or the other. It is not okay.
According to investigators, the entire incident unfolding in just a matter of minutes before Bomber managed to escape.
He clearly had a plan. He was very methodical in his approach.
Bomber faces charges of attempted murder, terrorism, aggravated arson, and aggravated assault, according to court documents. Past social media posts from Bomber showing him critical of the Biden administration, writing in one post, Biden supporters shouldn't exist. Bomber had broken a window with a hammer, an affidavit saying Bomber told authorities if he'd found the governor, he would have beaten him with the hammer. Just hours before the incident, the governor, who is Jewish, hosted a Passover celebration, sharing this picture of his Seder table on social media.
Lori and I are overwhelmed by the prayers and the messages of support.
Shapiro, a Democrat, became governor in 2022 after serving as Pennsylvania's attorney general for 6 years. Last year, he made Vice President Kamala Harris's shortlist of potential running mates in her bid for the White House. Now, Shapiro saying he refuses to let this alleged attack stop him from doing his job.
If this individual was trying to deter me from doing my job as your governor, rest assured I will find a way to work even harder.
That was Shaquille Brewster reporting. North Carolina Governor Josh Stein reacted to news of the arson on X. He said he is grateful his friend is safe and called the fire a reprehensible act.
It was a wild roller coaster of a ride that ended with a career grand slam for golfer Rory McIlroy. It took an extra hole for him to win the Masters and that green jacket. He and Justin Rose were tied through 72 holes of regulation play, and McIlroy went on to win it in an extra playoff hole. And with the career Grand Slam now, McIlroy has won all 4 of golf's major tournaments. Tiger Woods was the last one to do it 25 years ago, and really the only one almost 60 years to achieve that feat. Bryson DeChambeau finished tied for 5th in the Masters, and today he is visiting Pinehurst number 2, where he won last year's U.S. Open. Remember this. He'll be there for the unveiling of a commemorative plaque right next to the 18th hole bunker, where he made that incredible shot to secure that win. The plaque will be unveiled in about 15 minutes or so.
Tonight, women's basketball will take the spotlight. The WNBA draft will be held in New York City. UConn star player Paige Beckers will be in attendance. After leading the women Huskies to the NCAA National Championship, Beckers is expected to be first pick by the Dallas Wings. 2 NC State stars, Isaiah James and Sanaya Rivers, are also part of the group of 16 young women invited to the draft. The weather is also in the spotlight today. It is just gorgeous out there. Jeff and I were out in the gardens earlier because we had to do something for the evening news, and there were so many people there.
Oh, goodness. And caught me by surprise. Yeah. But once you get out there and really feel the temps, it is no surprise. Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. I see them all out there. Elizabeth watching you.
Oh, yeah, plenty of them. Oh, you guys, I just got to meet Chelsea Donovan's dad and aunt. And so that was a real treat. So you never know who you'll run into out here in the gardens. But there are lots of people. It is so pretty out. Our humidity is low. The temperatures are so comfortable. It's just beautiful. I did have somebody walk by just a few minutes ago to say that they thought that maybe the azaleas have reached their peak or maybe just a little past. But I'll tell you, there's still plenty of time. I'm looking at the azaleas over here right beside me. I don't see any of them that look wilty at all. So the gardeners plant the azaleas, there are a lot of different varieties, so they bloom at a different time. And so there's plenty to see out here. It's absolutely beautiful, and so many people out here enjoying it, which is so great to see. It is 73 degrees right now with a dew point of 50, so that feels very comfortable. We will climb on up to around 84 degrees this afternoon, and we're looking at 70s widespread. 74 in Southern Pines and Fayetteville, 74 in South Hill, 73 in Roxborough, a little closer to the Triangle. It's 70 in Garner, 72 in Cary, 71 in Wake Forest. So just Goldilocks weather out here right now. The muggy meter, as I said, was at 50. That puts us way down at comfy, almost refreshing. So when we see a dew point in the 50s and our temperature is in the 80s, that is, in my book, it doesn't really get much more perfect than that. Now, it was definitely cooler over the weekend, and it'll be cooler again tomorrow. So why is that? Well, we have a warm front that just moved north of us, and that reversed our wind to southwesterly. So all that warmth down to the south is coming up into our area right now. You see those red shaded arrows? That's all that warmth that's coming into the area. So the wind will continue to gust this afternoon up to around 20 to 25 miles per hour, and that keeps that warmth pushing in. So 84 in Raleigh, 85 in Durham, 85 in Fayetteville. We would love to see your azalea photos, by the way. We love all your Report It photos. Go to WRAL.com/report it. Send us some of your photos from out here in the azalea garden. We'd love to see it. 72 is our normal high, so we're well above that today. But our records for this time of year in the 90s, so we're not close to a record, just well above normal. We're going to drop it back down to 68 on Wednesday and Thursday, and that's not going to be bad. We're going to see plenty of sunshine. Tomorrow will be cloudy and windy, and tomorrow we may end up getting back to high fire danger, so we'll be talking more about that this evening and tomorrow. But the Durham Bulls start a homestand that lasts all the way through Sunday, and the weather looks great for that. Again, it may be a little bit cloudy for tomorrow, but it looks like it'll be dry, and we warm right back up for Easter weekend. 81 Friday, 87 Saturday, and 83 on Sunday. And that may continue after Easter with that chance of above normal temperatures. We do have just a tiny chance of some showers Tuesday. We're going to talk about that. That's really our next weather maker. We'll check in on that coming up in about 30 minutes.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Debunking myths. As weight loss drugs continue to grow in popularity, so do some of the misconceptions surrounding them. A medical professional weighs in.
Meta monopoly. Facebook's parent company is in court today fighting an antitrust case. How the verdict could impact your social media habits. Meta's federal antitrust trial is now underway in Washington, D.C. The FTC is accusing Meta of illegally building a social networking monopoly through its acquisitions of Instagram and WhatsApp. The government initially filed the lawsuit in December 2020. It was thrown out 6 months later. There will not be a jury, which means the judge will issue the final ruling. Netflix is testing a new search feature powered by OpenAI to help you find movies and shows to watch. Right now, the tool is available for select users in Australia and New Zealand. You can search using terms other than a specific title or actor, such as your mood, which would, for example, let Netflix bring up dramatic shows if you say sad. Netflix already uses AI for some features, such as learning your preferences based on your viewing history.
One day away from the traditional deadline to file your taxes, April 15th. We'll get a little reprieve here in the state of North Carolina until May 1st with the hurricanes. Whether you owe money, though, or received a refund, 5 on your sides. Keely Arthur is here to help explain what you should do next.
Today, we are tackling both refunds and owing on your taxes. First, let's start with what to do if you owe. If you can't pay your taxes in full by tax day, pay what you can. Then consider these options. First, a credit card. The IRS accepts them on irs.gov, helping you avoid penalties. Next, consider a payment plan. Apply online for one installment plan, but expect to see fees and interest. Finally, offer a compromise. If you're struggling financially, you may qualify to settle with the IRS for less. Now let's talk about what to do if you receive a refund. Start with knocking out high interest debt like credit cards and loans, or stash it in savings. A recent U.S. News and World Report survey found that 40% of participants could not cover an unexpected $1,000 expense. If you don't have an emergency fund, this is a great way to start one.
I know some people think even if you're just getting $500, that's not enough, but it doesn't matter because what we're doing is creating momentum.
And there's always room for improvement. If you received an unexpected tax bill, adjust your W-4 or set aside money to avoid surprises next year. Keely Arthur, 5 on your side.
DMV disruption, long lines and short patience, the problem behind today's issue.
And tariff trepidation. Why many Americans say they're confused about what to buy now versus later. First, here's a look at the winning lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Long lines are once again plaguing several DMV offices in our viewing area, just 1 week after the state expanded office hours to combat the issue.
Now, this time it's not because of an employee shortage, but rather an internet outage. WRAL's Carly Haynes is live at the Garner location with reaction from local residents there. Carly.
And I can tell you some good news this afternoon that outage has since been resolved. These DMV offices are back up and running. This outage only lasted for about an hour, but it's definitely led to longer wait times. We're seeing people with their lawn chairs. They're bringing their books. We have started seeing the line moving along here. We reached out to the Department of Transportation, who said that this was caused by an AT&T outage that was out of their control. But, I mean, we know people have become really accustomed to some of these long lines. These are all of the locations of the DMVs that are affected right now. That includes Cary, Raleigh, Garner, Carrboro, Wendell, Goldsboro, and Mount Olive. This affected about 30 DOT sites, 12 of which were DMVs. And this isn't the first time that North Carolina DMV has had issues. Previously, disruptions have led to long lines and severe delays. The DMV said when there's an outage, customers can wait it out or reschedule. So, for example, the DMVs today, they did not close altogether. But people have been waiting in line since 7 in the morning. They said this line doesn't feel different than their usual experience.
Not my first time, won't be my last time. I've been here, I was here last week, and last week, over a course of like 3 days, I spent like 16 hours in line, and I was able to only get in one time.
And you all mentioned it before. Last week, the DMV announced 42 additional offices will have extended hours. That's on top of 50 others. And Saturday walk-in hours are coming back at select locations this summer. Despite that, viewer complaints into WRAL about long lines and trouble getting appointments are at an all-time high. We also know the DOT is currently looking for a replacement for the DMV commissioner. Carly Haynes, WRAL News, live in Garner.
What would a no cell phone policy look like in North Carolina schools? That is the first order of business for a new student safety task force created at their first meeting this morning. Conversation centered on how strict the new cell phone policy should be, if this should go beyond cell phones, if phones should be just kept away during instructional time, and what no phone could look like in emergency situations. Today, students shared their preferences.
We had a code red last year in which, there was a lot of stuff kind of going around. And so I was able to talk with my mom. I could pull up the news on my phone and kind of see, what was for sure known, while things were all sorts of rumors were being texted around.
A cell phone policy bill has been introduced in both chambers of the General Assembly right now, and the task force has a goal of providing a best practices guidebook by June 3rd.
Today, Durham school employees will meet with district leaders. The Durham Association of Educators is advocating for teachers and staff amid a $7 million budget shortfall for the school system. Today will be the first of 2 meetings between the group and the Board of Education. They will discuss the DAE's 9 proposals for the district's budget. In just a few hours, we expect to learn more about new mental health treatment options for people deemed unable to stand trial. Sheriff Willie Rowe and State Health and Human Services Secretary Dev Sangbai plan to make the announcement this afternoon at 4. They say the expansion of services aims to strengthen and improve capacity in North Carolina's legal and behavioral health systems.
Get you another check of stocks here on this first day of the trading weekend. Dow Jones Industrial Average has jumped just a bit from when we showed you just a half hour ago, and that's up 150, hovering in that spot right there, and in the green all morning long, positive territory. Also, NASDAQ and S&P 500 also in positive territory. Now, despite the uptick on Wall Street, there is growing uncertainty over tariffs. Trump administration has exempted smartphones and computers and other tech devices from the president's last round of tariffs on China and other trading partners. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez explains why some are racing to make purchases.
This morning, new confusion for American companies and consumers over President Trump's tariffs.
Financially, our country is going to be stronger than it's ever been.
After a weekend of back and forth over whether taxes for some electronics are going up. On Friday, exemptions for smartphones, computers, and other tech components announced by U.S. Customs and Border Protection because the White House said the president wants to ensure companies have time to move production to the U.S. Tariffs on electronics would affect American companies like Apple, who manufacture many devices overseas. On Sunday, the president's advisors tried to clarify.
The policy is no exemptions, no exclusions.
They're exempt from the reciprocal tariffs, but they're included in the semiconductor tariffs, which are coming in probably a month or two.
The president later posting nobody is getting off the hook, arguing there was no tariff exception announced on Friday, and that the products are just moving to a different tariff bucket. Last night on Air Force One, the president also promising tariffs on semiconductors, key parts used in many electronics. But Trump saying he might give exceptions to some companies or products.
You have to show a certain flexibility. Nobody should be so rigid.
Democrats say the president's chaotic tariff rollout has backfired.
President Trump now has a crisis in credibility.
All of it fueling new anxiety for consumers. At the Apple store in Chicago, some shoppers told us tariffs are driving them to upgrade their phones as soon as possible.
That was Gabe Gutierrez reporting. And meanwhile, some Democrats are calling for an insider trading probe on the president's tariff pause. Just after the opening bell last Wednesday, Trump posted on social media, quote, "This is a great time to buy." A few hours later, he announced he was reversing his tariff policy. Bloomberg reported the world's wealthiest people raked in $304 billion as the markets rocketed back up that day.
Not an easy fix. The hard lessons people on weight loss drugs are learning about hitting and maintaining their health goals.
And strange things people pack. What they put in their airline luggage that got lost and was never claimed. Take WRAL with you on the go. Download the WRAL News app and get breaking news, weather updates, and watch live newscasts right there on your smartphone.
And we are following some breaking news right now in the WRAL Live Center. The president of El Salvador says he will not facilitate a return for a Maryland man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador. We're talking about the Maryland father and husband, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. The president of El Salvador met with President Trump this afternoon, and he said, "How can I return him to the U.S.? I smuggle him into the United States. Of course, I am not going to do it." Now, the Trump administration has acknowledged that Abrego Garcia was deported back in March in violation of an immigration judge's order blocking his removal to El Salvador. But since the president of El Salvador struck a deal with Trump's administration, he has accepted more than 200 Venezuelans deported from the U.S. in recent months.
Starting today, changes are coming to downtown Raleigh. South Street is closing permanently between Dawson and McDowell Streets. It's part of the expansion project for the Raleigh Convention Center. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey tells us this is making way for the relocation of Red Hat Amphitheater.
Your commute in downtown Raleigh will look different starting today. This section of South Street here between Dawson and McDowell Streets will close permanently today. Drivers now need to use Lenore Street as an alternate route. This is all a part of changes for the Red Hat Amphitheater. The city is moving the amphitheater to South Lenore Street, just a block away from where it is now. That will make room for a 300,000 square foot expansion at the Raleigh Convention Center. Plans for the new Red Hat are already in the works. You're looking at renderings of that project now. The city plans to add more sidewalks in front of the venue. Assistant City Manager Evan Raleigh says the Red Hat brings big money to businesses downtown.
The economic activity that the venue generates was critical to their success. And so we know, the Red Hat generates tens of millions in economic activity every year.
The new Red Hat is set to open in 2027. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
Scrolling through social media, if it were an Olympic sport, some teens could win gold. Up next, how parents can gauge if their child is ready to engage. And scrambling for alternatives. The high price of eggs is causing some families to find other ways to celebrate Easter. A look at one company's solution.
Social media apps can allow children and teens to stay connected to friends. They can also cause harm if used too frequently. Mandy Gaither explains how to know if your child is ready for social media and what parents can do to keep them safe.
Social media has become a significant part of life for many. 77% of high schoolers reported frequent daily social media use in a 2023 national survey by the CDC. But experts say using these apps too much can be harmful to children and teens.
It can affect their mental health, but it can also affect their safety.
Tracy Hurley is with the Child Protection Team at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. She says most experts recommend waiting until a child is in 8th grade before allowing social media. But since everyone develops differently, she says to answer the following questions.
Are they mature enough? Are they responsible with their belongings? Can they take care of the other belongings that they have in the home? And can they follow the other types of rules that you already have set in place at home or at school?
Hurley says if the answer is no to any of these, you may want to wait. She says it's also important for the parent to be ready for a child to have social media. Once your child has these apps, she says parents play a big role in safety. Monitor your child's interactions online. There are apps that can help you do that. Keep communication open about their online experiences, set clear rules and limits for social media use, and finally, be prepared for difficult conversations around things they've seen or done online.
There's wonderful resources out there that can have questions that you might not think of to ask kids specifically about their internet usage and what they do online.
That was Mandy Gaither reporting, and the CDC says it's also important for parents to educate themselves about new devices and websites their child is using. That can make it easier for them to understand what they're doing online.
Medical experts are weighing in on some of the common myths surrounding weight loss drugs. The first myth is that some people believe they will see instant results. The second is that patients don't need to diet and exercise while taking these meds. Studies show that around the 2-year mark, many people tend to gain weight back if they're not dieting and exercising. The last myth is weight loss medications are an easy way out.
First thing I would probably say when somebody says they're taking the easy way out is speak to that person and see, what the cause of the weight gain was, and you might be surprised with what you hear. Second thing is there is no easy way out. If there was an easy way out, we wouldn't be having this conversation about weight because nobody will be gaining weight.
If you're considering weight loss medication, it is best to consult with a specialist so they can help create a comprehensive plan that is right for you.
A lot of people consider brown rice a healthier alternative to white rice due to its rich concentration of fiber and other nutrients. A recent study, though, shows the fan favorite contains 40% higher amounts of arsenic, a known carcinogen. The toxic element concentrates in the outer layers of the grain, which are retained in brown rice but removed during the processing of white rice. Chronic consumption of either arsenic can help lead to skin problems and digestive issues, as well as an increased risk of diabetes, cancer, and cardiovascular disease. Find yourself yawning a lot in the middle of the day? Sometimes.
Guilty.
With our schedule. Signs of sleepiness may be a red flag of a serious sleep deficit, though it could put you in physical danger and harm your long-term health as well.
Excessive daytime sleepiness can impair performance and be an indicator of underlying sleep disorders or other issues. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Lack of quality sleep is linked to health issues such as diabetes, depression, heart disease, and high blood pressure. Now, instead of writing off sleepiness, experts recommend that you contact your physician. We try to hold them for the commercial breaks.
Yes,
The yawning.
exactly. I think they, clear your ears, get some oxygen rolling and stuff.
Well, between you, me, Elizabeth, we have done mornings for a long, long time. And every time we do a story about sleep deprivation and sleepiness, I'm like,
Get
our
outside.
work hours, how do we fix those?
Get some fresh air. Be like Elizabeth. Just leave
She's not yawning.
in the morning and get outside on the patio.
Because it's so nice outside.
I was yawning. I feel like I'm yawning all the time. It is so hard, yeah. But it's, not just us. I feel like, everybody's sleep deprived these days. But I tell you what, it's hopefully would be very relaxing. Maybe it would help you sleep if you came and strolled around the gardens a little bit and, went home early. It's just beautiful out here. Fayetteville, Raleigh, of course, right here in the gardens, as well as Apex, Chapel Hill, looking gorgeous. We had a little bit of cloud cover this morning, and it is long gone. It's just so pretty out here this afternoon. We take a look at the big picture. We have a warm front that you can see up near Washington and Richmond. That warm front's lifted north of us. Our wind is now coming out of the southwest, and that's what's bringing us all this warmth today as compared to yesterday. But this is our next weather maker. You can see the cold front there. It doesn't look like there's much cloud cover with it, and certainly no rain. But once it moves across the mountains, we have the potential for it to bring us a good bit of cloud cover for tomorrow. And wind may be the biggest thing that we see out of this front, because we're really not going to see a whole lot of moisture with it. We will cool down on the backside of this front, so temperatures, instead of being in the 80s today, are likely to be in the 70s for tomorrow, which is not bad, really. Still fairly comfortable. It's just a 20% chance of rain mid-morning to the early part of the afternoon, so rain's not going to be a big issue. But again, we could see windy conditions with this, winds gusting 25, 35 miles per hour. Because we're not going to see a whole lot of rain with this, our pollen count will remain high. It rained on Friday, and so, it's been several days now. So pine, oak, elm, and sweet gum are all high again. Just 6 more days until Easter Sunday. It just feels like time is flying, doesn't it? The weather looks great. Our weather headlines for Easter look like this. There's going to be a system, a low and a cold front way back across the middle of the country there in the plains. It does not move our way for Easter Sunday instead, or Easter weekend at all. We'll see a warm front that moves north of us, and then the whole pattern sort of stalls. It's possible that we could see an isolated shower, but at this point, we don't feel like it's a good enough chance to even put it in the forecast. So 20% for tomorrow with some cloud cover and some windy conditions. But then right now, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday look great. If you're headed out early for, say, an Easter sunrise service or an Easter egg hunt, it'll look like this. At 7 a.m., 62 degrees. By 11 o'clock, 70. So it's really going to feel great. In the afternoon, it will be fairly hot, though. We go from 81 Friday to 87 Saturday, and then back down to 83 on Sunday. But as we talked about 30 minutes or so ago, when we take a look at what could happen after that, it still looks like temperatures will be nice and warm. So a couple of cool days this week, and then temperatures should be above normal for the weekend and into next week.
Dropping 87 on us there Saturday. Wow-wee. How about it? Thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah, unclaimed luggage. Every bag has a story. Some of the odd and expensive items passengers left at the airport. We wrap things up with a look at a few of the headlines we're following for you today. An internet outage impacted DMVs across our area today. That outage happened at DMVs in Raleigh, Garner, Carrboro, Wendell, Goldsboro, and Mount Olive. The DOT says the issue lasted an hour. The state says it was an AT&T internet outage that was out of their control. Stay with us on air and online at WRAL.com for the latest updates.
Happening today at the Legislative Building, we'll get our first look at plans state lawmakers have to spend more than $30 billion in taxpayer money. Republican leaders in the state Senate plan to unveil their budget plans today. This is the first step in what's likely to be months of negotiations between Republican House and Senate leaders and Democratic Governor Josh Stein.
South Street between Dawson and McDowell Streets is permanently closing in downtown Raleigh, part of plans for the new Red Hat Amphitheater. The venue is moving just a block away to South Lenore Streets. That will make room for a 300,000 square foot expansion of Raleigh Convention Center. Drivers will now take Lenore Street as an alternate route.
What does an Ice Spice Chia Pet, a cuckoo clock, and a sheet of uncut U.S. currency have in common? They're just a few of the strange things found in travelers' forgotten luggage last year. The thrift store Unclaimed Baggage buys these unclaimed items from domestic airlines, and each year it releases its Found Report. So the categories range from wild, wonderful, and weird to fancy flyers.
Most of it just looks weird. A lot of kids love to dye eggs to celebrate Easter, right? But the record high egg prices have people scrambling for an alternative to that popular pastime. Jet Puffed Marshmallows released a color dyeing kit just in time for the holiday. It's the first of its kind. Dip and Decorate dozen kit costs about $2. Comes with 24-ounce bag of extra large marshmallows, 6 colors, miniature tongs for dipping, and decorating pens for designs.
Our pet of the day comes to us from Love Mutts Rescue. Oliver is 4 years old with a heart of gold. Volunteers believe he's a possible mix of Labrador and Rottweiler. Oliver's house and crate trained, loves a loving environment, and he's sure to win you over with those puppy eyes. You can meet him by appointment. Just contact lovemuttsrescue.org. NBC News Daily is next on WRAL. Your next local news update in 30 minutes.
Hey, and get breaking news updates anytime with the WRAL News app. Have a great day.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.